All right. So I was working with Lorenzo, and we you know, were confronted all the time with the question, what is natural wine? And everybody has kind of their own definition of natural wine, since it's not, you know, there is no laws or official regulations that tell you what it's meant to be. So we decided we would define a process which you know, we then called Metodo Corino. So we are in the world of wine, so we are speaking about methods of making wine. When we're speaking about a protocol or a process. And so this is, you know, why we set out to write down everything about how we make wines, starting from vineyard, you know, starting from how you plant a vineyard, which varieties, how you manage the vineyard, you know, how you manage the harvest, and then all the part about the cellar. And then we, you know, we also ran some taste tests where we didn't do it. It was done in a lab where, you know, to find out whether there was a real difference between wines made with the Metodo Corino or conventional wines. And since, you know, we had a patent, we asked for the patent. So we go through an examination board and like produce something very similar to a scientific paper about this. And we were, you know, it took quite a while. It took a couple of years because, of course, people on the examination board, they would challenge some of the things. But then we passed all of these, you know, questions, and we were granted the patent on May 2019. So besides the patent, you know, the reason is really that we want to give transparency about the way we make the wine. And when, you know, people say Metodo Corino, they should understand some basic processes about the way it's made in a very clear way. This was the reason.
So how do you explain in like a, you mean like just like a sentence response?
A sentence response is impossible because we're speaking about the process that has many phases.
It's a process. It's not
you cannot make a sentence about it. So I can explain some of the focus about the method. So we focus a lot on soil, and we measure, you know, how the life beneath the soil, how is whether it's increasing or decreasing or staying the same. This is very important, you know, before planting the vineyard and after, and then also during the life. Then we focus on the longevity of the vineyard because we want the vines to live for many decades, which is different from what is happening now in the industry, where on average a vineyard lives 20 years, maybe even less. Then we also focus about using historical varieties that are adapted to a certain place. This, of course, helps us in being more sustainable because they need less water, less of everything, you know, less also in the management of the vineyard, and also the expression of the terroir, let's say, we think is a better expression when you use the historical varieties. So you may know that Italy has the most varieties in the world, and every little place has their own little variety. It can be big, like Sangiovese, that is almost anywhere, but almost any place you go in Italy has a variety of olive oil, of olive, you know, of vines, of anything really. So we think this heritage is very important. Then, of course, we don't use any, come si dice, fitofarmaci, agrofarmaci,
Chemical?
sistemici, com'è che si dice, tu che sai?
Chemical, yeah, chemical.
Well, no chemicals in the vineyard besides sulfur and a little bit of copper. And then in the cellar, also we don't add anything. We do a fermentation, natural yeast, and no additives, and almost never, I say almost never because it may happen maybe 5% of the time in the some wines, especially the whites, you may have to add just maybe 3 or to 5 of sulfites sometimes in some vintages, but it really happens very rarely. So no sulfites. And we also, one thing that is very important to the Metodo Corino is that we would like to measure what we do. So to give an evidence, you know, it's not just what we tell you, but we give you some evidence. So we measure the soil biologic quality, and we measure our carbon footprint, which of course takes into account everything about the production, also, you know, packaging and transportation within the farm, or anything that you do, not just the production itself, but everything else. Questi direi, so. Mi ho dimenticata qualcosa. Dov'è Achille? Achille? Biological soil quality. Non sento come dice.
We can't hear you, Gwendolyn. I think you have to repeat what you said.
No, si sente.
Like the quality of the soil is super important. The diversity
Yeah.
of soil is big. Yeah.
Yeah, the quality of the soil.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I remember at Raw Wine in New York last year, Lorenzo talked about the Corino method and said that you're supposed to spend more than half of your effort as a grower and winemaker working the soil, right?
Improving the quality of the soil,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily working it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you don't touch the soil a lot.
And so you're improving the soil by, for example, using the pruning from the vine as well as the other material from the farm as a whole.
Girala a lui questa domanda, che è lo specialista.
Non ho capito.
Com'è che migliori la qualità biologica del suolo?
Yeah. So your question, just to make sure I understood, is what specifically what do they do with the soil? What's their some examples?
So the question is they're using the materials from the farm, right, as well as from the vine themselves, the fruiting from the vine.
Io non sento, non capisco niente di quello che dici.
So you want to know the material that they use when
Rather than
when
my
they,
saying it, I wanted them to say it. You know, of how they are utilizing, where are they getting the additives for the soil? They're getting
No,
it
più che altro
Absolutely not.
No,
Absolutely not. You know, the best is to keep as long as possible organic matter. So we are working quite a lot with mulching, with the hay from the farm. That is our, come si dice?
main.
The main technique we are using. Of course, it depends quite a lot on the texture of the soil. But this is the main technique we are using. You have to improve the texture of your soil. That makes easier the nutrition and the water availability as well in very dry conditions.
Are you dry farming? No irrigation, right?
Yes, we are doing dry farming, yes.
That's typical. But even with this drought that's going on, how is that stressing the vines this year?
quindi l'impatto alle uva e le vigne sul fatto che c'è poco acqua.
Ah, boom. If your soil is, you see, the real question is to keep your soil soft with the mulch, and so you will not got problem with the drought. Not like tilling, for example, can be you can till, but very low surface. So the real problem is to keep the cover on the soil in dry farming. So just in case of a little rain, you keep all the rain and you defend the soil from the sun that is not disturbing your water retention.
So we've touched on the 2020 growing season just a little bit with the drought. How bad of a drought is it, and are there other significant factors in your harvest?
Quindi chiede la severità del drought, la mancanza
Non è. For us, it's not as hard probably as in California, but so if you like a measure, I don't know, but we are in Italy, we are not in California. So what's important is not to lose any possibility of rain, and to avoid the losses of humidity from your soil.
You're also harvesting early because of the drought too, because
the harvest early that doesn't. No. It depends on all phenology, for example, the sprouting and the flowering, so all through. So we are early this year because all was early.
Everything was early. Okay.
Because every variety has always the same days length.
Mm-hmm.
So we are early because it was early at the spring, it was early at the sprout.
And you would attribute all of that, the early flowers and everything, towards weather rather than climate, yeah? Or are you seeing this as a trend?
I think you need to repeat the question or maybe rephrase it. So
Everything being early this season, you would attribute climate or to this year's weather? Do you see a general trend related to the climate in your years of working with the vines and with land?
So just to repeat, if I understood, the fact that things were happening earlier this year, is that a trend that you're seeing in recent years? Is that pretty much what you were wondering?
No, never has been so early like this year. In my experience,
Not a trend.
it's not a trend. It's exceptional, very exceptional.
So it's weather as opposed to climate.
E quindi non è collegato al cambio del clima.
No,
No, it's not related to climate change.
Have you seen any changes that you would attribute to climate change or global warming, or not yet?
Quindi chiede se hai visto gli impatti del climate change.
sarebbe un discorso. I have not, you see, this is a great question. And in my, I have an experience of 50 years in farming. So I don't think it's enough, because in the 60s, it was raining a lot until 90, for example, no? And it was cool, a lot of problem of pathogen, for example. And now we are living about 15, 20 years that actually the temperature is increasing, but in my experience is not good enough to come to conclusion in what is going on. And I think our best goal is to try to keep organic matter. That, generally speaking, in farming, that is our best way of doing sustainable farming for the future, not just in vines, of course. That is quite a critical point, and I like to underline.
Part of that is, you know, that in Italy,
È impazzito.
Che succede qua?
È impazzito. Cosa vai?
Are you still there? Yeah, I'm sorry. There's the puppy.
Ma cos'hai? Cosa c'è?
Who's lightening up the subject a little bit from climate change. I think I got blood. Ma c'è sangue.
Magari ti hai graffiato un pochino.
I have a little blood from the
Basta, ma è
puppy.
impazzito. Cosa
Sorry. Sorry, Gwendolyn. I just totally interrupted. I think you might have to ask your question again.
I got it. So I got his answer. So the best, what he said is the best goal is to keep the organic matter. It's our best way of doing sustainable farming, is to keep that organic matter
Yeah.
on farm.
You know what, Gwendolyn, I'm recording this, so when I'll be traveling for a couple days, but maybe like on Friday I can send you the the recording, so that way you could probably hear it better on the recording.
Some of the short-term solutions in dealing with global warming, climate change, or just super hot weather with the canopy management. So are they doing anything different in terms of canopy management here?
For what? What kind of management? Oh, canopy.
as a short-term solution for dealing with, possible global warming, climate change, or just hot.
So you want to know if they're doing something for canopy management?
Right. Have they changed their
Just in-
management of the vine this year because it's so hot?
Quindi chiede, dato che quest'anno c'è stato poca pioggia, è stato caldo, se
We do
ha
nothing.
fatto...
We do not touch. We leave as it is. We do not take out any leaves. We do not cut, no rognage, nothing. What we do in some places where the soil is drier, we do during the night, we spray some water on leaves. What we do, but very few parcel we do that. Just to keep gli stomi, come si dice?
Stomi non so. Cos'è?
Just to keep the leaf working well. But we do not do any rognage cutting.
Pruning, no leaf pulling, just let the plant do what it wants to do that year.
Right.
And so it must be pretty dry there. Yeah. How far from the ocean or from the body of water?
Let's see. I drove today from the I was at basically the seaside, and it took me like an hour and a half to get here.
No, meno. Seaside,
Yeah.
45 minutes.
Oh,
Devi
okay.
dirgli che la siccità è solo qua, perché tutta l'Italia settentrionale è piena di acqua,
Sì,
che scoppia. Quindi tutta questa cosa qua
Qua,
bisogna anche
questa zona.
dirlo, è solo qua.
Solo qua.
Yeah. So until I was saying that the seaside's 45 minutes away, and then they were saying that this dryness is specific to Tuscany. So if you go north,
Not all Tuscany, south of Tuscany, because north is okay.
Sì, il nord è molto bagnato.
Lucca, yeah.
Pisa.
So we are plenty of water in the north. All Po Valley, plenty, too much this year. And we got some problem in mildew, for example, because it was very wet until beginning of August. I don't know if she's looking for Italy or just here.
No. She was asking about here.
Ah, here.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, just basically trying to get a harvest report what it was like, this year in terms of what happened to the vineyards and any mitigation that they might have done this year. So have they started picking?
Yeah, I can send you some pictures when I was with Antonella today. The harvest you started when?
We don't have one harvest. We have many harvests. We will have maybe, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 harvests.
So because we select, so we are
yeah.
back several times in the same parcel, the same vineyard.
But you started this week, right?
Yes, we have started.
Two small parcels,
Mm-hmm.
very small. And Thursday.
So we are testing. We are not sure. So we are making some samples. We are not really harvesting. Probably we start next Thursday.
Yeah.
Now we are just sampling. And when it's a bit dry, it's more difficult. So you have to be very careful and to make several samples before starting, definitely.
Quindi la domanda come mai fate questi passaggi?
Perché le vigne sono molto
Perché sono
disomogenee.
disomogenei, è chiaro, no? Che quando è asciutto una pianta è perfetta e l'altra meno.
Yeah, because it's just they're all not, you know, some bunches may be ready on the same plant, on the same vine, others may not. So
I don't speak Italian. It sounded like he was saying that they're not all perfect. So he's trying to go for the perfect blended. I heard
well,
perfect
it's not already. It's like irregular.
One of the things with biodynamics is following the mood and taking in plants using in accordance to mood cycle. Is that true with the Corino method?
So you want to know whether or not the Corino method embraces biodynamic?
The biodynamic practice of plant using by the moon, by the phase.
Oh, by the moon.
Yes, the moon is very, very important. The moon is doing the tide, is doing the birth. So is something is very ancient knowledge
Take
about.
into account, of course.
Absolutely, we care about.
Like in the bottling, for example.
For example, when in new moon, the vine are growing faster and faster, definitely faster. So the moon is absolutely something we know very well and we follow. But that is not biodynamics. That is from the Greek, from the Feni Etruscan. They are talking about the moon. It's not biodynamics. Biodynamics is yesterday.
Biodynamics was yesterday, but it was at Tuscany, the original people that planted and made wine.
Were the Etruscans the first to make wine in Italy?
Yes.
At least.
Yes.
At least. So that means 4,000 years ago.
In Sardinia, even before la cultura dei nuraghi, no? Non hanno fatto il vino.
Esatto.
Quanti anni?
So
9.000 anni.
several thousand years.
Yes.
That is something. So, and we are sitting in Etruscan place.
This is one of the oldest places in the world where man began to make wine. Here, in this area, right here. Here. Here.
Of course, different varieties. Sorry.
Just thinking that there's people that are now doing it. So I mean, it seems like it's new biodynamics, but it is very old. So would you say that the Corino method is trying to get back to some of the original ways of making wine, older processes?
So the question is Corino method basically kind of like going back to how wine was made a long time ago?
No,
because we have a lot more knowledge now. It's not.
We have a lot of knowledge today, and we like to explain what we are doing. Transparency, totally. And so is that. No, we are not.
So taking some of the good, like planting.
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking. We had an interview earlier, and Isabelle Legeron was on the part of the interview, and she made reference to this is in general, let's say natural wine, but how it's it's looking to the past, but it's also farming for the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a very good
Yeah.
definition.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, you think that kind of wraps up your questions, Gwendolyn?
I'd like to get what their, I understand that in Italy, the Italian Minister of Ministry of Agriculture is working towards a standard of sustainability, looking at environmental, economical, and social aspects, and we call that the triple bottom line here. And I can see where they are already doing that. But if there is a certificate of sustainability, will they apply for it?
So the question is the if the Italian government comes up with some sort of standard for natural wine.
They won't. No, they won't. It's a fact. They won't.
They're not doing for they are the Italian Ministry of Agriculture is working toward creating a standard for sustainability.
For what?
Sustainability that
Sustainability standard.
Yeah, there are sustainability standards that are you know, a lot lower than what we are doing. So we could I think for us, the main thing is to measure the carbon footprint, because that tells you everything, you know. It also points out what can be best practices, ways to improve. So it's something you have to do over a few years, you know. You can't just do it once and say that's it, because it's a very thorough analysis, and everything is taken into account, so you can have a very honest view of your practices. You know, it's not just a number, even though the number tells you a lot. So it's very objective, you know, it's not subjective.
the question though, I guess, I just think of it this way. So are you hoping to, as you move forward, to get other farmers to follow this method as a higher, this is the best way, or the high standards, the highest standards from sustainability?
Io non ho
And
capito.
Niente.
Traduci.
Yeah, she was asking if other. So the question is if they would like, let's say, to promote Corino method for other producers to adopt.
Not really.
Not
It's not
really.
no.
It's not.
Making it, you know, writing down the Corino method took a lot of effort. And also we think the big strength about the Corino method is that it takes into account everything, starting from how you plant a vineyard, you know. So it's a whole ecosystem. It's not just a list of things. It was very time consuming. It took a lot of effort. It was an investment, and I think now we really just want to concentrate on, you know, how to communicate this better, and so that people can understand really what we're doing and invest in our, you know, improve ourselves. This is what we're more interested in at the moment.
What was that? I can't hear you.
8:35. Adesso arriveranno. Dille di ripetere. Non capito niente. Si è bloccata.
I didn't hear you.
Right. Okay. Other
So
people adopting this method?
are others adopting the Carino
Well,
method?
it's not possible to somebody to just adopt the method because you know it's a protected trademark and patent. So they would need to ask us and go through some kind of protocol, which we're not interested in doing now. So we are the only two producers now allowed to use this, put it on our labels.
I know, from my visits so far that there's a lot of people here that are doing biodynamic because there were a couple of people that got started and then they shared that information. And, so I was curious. Right. I'm hearing the dog and I'm like, say,
Yeah. Well, it's kind of late here, Gwendolyn. I think we should probably wrap up. Yeah. You see the moon?
almost got sick. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time this evening. Have a nice evening.
All right.
Have a
Thank
nice
you.
day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Gwendolyn.
Thank you.
We'll be in
Thank
touch.
you.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.
Allora, vieni che ti presento.